All right. So for today's Ask Brojo Anything, we have a question about dating and relationships and specifically expressing attraction. Here's the question. I'm a recovering nice guy. I'm way too nice, and I've had limited success with women. They like me as friends sometimes, but that's usually about it. When I'm around the girl that I like, even if we are alone in her apartment, just us, I just talk and talk and talk about friendly, casual stuff. It's 100% friendly vibe that I'm giving off, and I never know how to cross over to being sexual with her. It makes me as nervous as hell thinking about approaching her that way, and I avoid it. I think I'm afraid that she will think I'm a creep or being inappropriate or something. How do you recommend transitioning from the friendly talking vibe over to kissing, romance, intimacy, and sex? Now, this is a great question, and it's one that most of us are all too familiar with. So I'm going to break this discussion into 3 parts. First, I want to give a high-level understanding of what's going on for you psychologically, why you feel stuck. This is very important to understand, and chances are this problem exists in many, many other areas of your life as well in different ways. But that feeling of being stuck and unable to move forward, if you can learn to conquer that, you're basically free to pursue everything you want in life. So we'll talk about that first. Second thing we're going to talk about is specific practical suggestions on how to express attraction whenever you feel it. And third, we're going to talk about this specific situation with this specific girl who you've already known for some period of time and have not yet expressed attraction to, and you'd like to change that. It's a slightly different situation, so we're going to talk about that as well. Now, I've made a lot of notes here, so forgive me for jumping back and forth. You'll probably see my eyes wandering around my monitor. But the problem of expressing attraction, the fears that hold us back from expressing attraction, this is a pattern that's very, very easy to develop, particularly for nice guys. And the reason tends to be that we have this perception that somehow expressing attraction is not nice. Before I go too deeply into that, I want to point out that most of what you want in life feels out of reach only because you are holding yourself back. It's not about external barriers. It's not about problems and risks and challenges outside of you. It is primarily about the challenges inside of you, dealing with those first. The fears that keep you from ever even opening your mouth and giving it a go. When we're talking about expressing attraction, the problem isn't how do I convince her to like me. The problem isn't what do I say, even though our brain tells us this is what you need to solve first. Now, it doesn't matter what you say. That's not the problem yet. The problem isn't how do I create attraction back from her. The problem is inside of you. And the problem is simply about allowing yourself to do something. Anything at all. All right? Once you get past that, you'll be very surprised at how the challenges outside of you fall apart. They tend to become very, very easy. That job you've always wanted, that new pay grade, that new lifestyle, that new girlfriend, that new circle of friends, that new body, all of these things are easily within your reach once you give yourself permission to pursue them openly and freely. So the question then becomes, why are you holding yourself back? And what I've found on a lot of deep introspection, my personal battle overcoming my own internal fears was a very big part of my life. Fear used to rule my life because I used to feed it. Anytime I'd feel fear, part of my brain would say, seems legit. Let's hit pause for a moment, have a look at this, and make sure we're safe before we proceed. And then another part of my brain would look at that and say, wow, that was a pretty strong emotional reaction there. must be a pretty serious threat situation. Pretty soon, I'm sitting there building dendrites in my brain that amplify and magnify that decision path that I've taken, which is usually either freeze or run away from the problem. Okay? And essentially what this means is that in every situation where I felt a little bit of threat, I turned that into a threat response situation with a typical fight, flight, freeze response. Rather than going towards the problem, choosing to move inwards to it directly, which is done in a different part of the brain, by the way, I chose flight or freeze. And I chose it enough times that I ended up reinforcing it again and again and again, to where long after I no longer felt legitimate fear, long after I could rationally see this isn't a really dangerous situation, I'd reinforced it so much that the emotional reaction I felt was intense enough to give me pause and keep me stuck in that space. And I think of it like an anchor. I think of fear, and specifically shame, which we're going to talk about in a minute, as these anchors that kept me from ever moving forward in life. Once I learned how to cut them loose, I'm able to drift forward and move forward towards whatever it is that I actually want without this holding back. And it just happens naturally and automatically. The beautiful thing is, the process isn't that difficult. It's very simple, and it feels great even when you do it. You'll feel fear before you confront that shame, but afterwards you'll feel this incredible rush of serotonin and probably adrenaline as well. And it's a fantastic feeling. Once you learn to express attraction and you see what's on the other side of that, that internal reward you get alone is well worth 1,000,000 rejections. So let's go a little bit deeper. The basic problem that we really want to look at here, I want to touch on this for a minute, is let's call it comfort-seeking behaviors. All right. So as mammals, we are wired with the mammal brain, which is very comfort-seeking. It only understands feeling, emotional sensations, and can only react to those emotional sensations. As humans, we also have the rational brain, which says, well, that's stupid. She's not going to bite your head off. Of course, you can go tell her you like her and you're interested in her. But the emotional brain can't hear that. Emotional brain can't understand that. Now, this isn't a problem until we develop the comfort-seeking behaviors. Essentially, in that situation, what we're doing is we're allowing the feelings to govern our choices for us. So you face a situation where you want to express attraction to someone. You immediately feel uncomfortable about that. Still, that's fine. No problem at all. You feel uncomfortable. Great. Your emotional brain, your limbic system is sending you some messages saying, hey, things might not go well here. I don't know. Totally fine. The problem is we run away from that uncomfortable feeling. And that pattern is strongly reinforces itself. I would say that in modern society, comfort-seeking behavior is probably at epidemic levels. You look at cultures where people tend to be extremely overweight, porn addicted, eating huge amounts of sugar, spending all their time on Facebook watching movies, the internet, avoiding anything uncomfortable. I find it a little sad when I see even cultural jokes on sitcoms or TV about how going to the gym seems like a ridiculous idea because, oh my God, who would want to do something that uncomfortable? I'm like, wow, how did society get here where no one wants to create a better you? But that's where we are. But look at that pattern and look where it leads you. So if you take that comfort-seeking behavior all the way and only do the things that feel good and none of the things that feel uncomfortable, where does that end up? Probably fat, unemployed, no girlfriend, no friends, miserable, depressed, living in a basement, your life is not going to be where you want it to go. And the reason that happens is the avoidance of uncomfortable situations. So that's where we want to start. Getting comfortable with discomfort. Okay? The key thing to understand here more than anything else is that feelings are just feelings. They do not govern your choices unless you allow them to. All right? Your choices are still 100% yours. And make no mistake, you are making a choice when you choose to run away or freeze. Okay, so back to the situation where you see a beautiful woman and you want to say something, you have feelings, but you also have, separately from that, a choice to make. You can feel great and do nothing. You can feel excited about telling her how she makes you feel and run away. Or you can feel really uncomfortable with the situation and express your attraction anyway. Those two things are not connected. And understanding this in a very practical, internally understood way is one of the most valuable things we can do. As a regular practice, I train that separately from all of my other self-development efforts. And I do it in very specific ways. One way that I like to do it is cold showers. Before I get in that cold shower, everything in my brain is saying, don't do it, Mike. You don't want to do this. It's not going to feel good. You're really going to feel miserable. And I do it anyway. The entire exercise is about knowing that my brain's resistance prior to making a choice does not keep me from making that choice. Now, if you've done this, or if you try this for some period of time, or talk to anyone who does cold showers regularly, you'll discover something very interesting, which is that after practicing it for a while, cold showers start to feel good. And this is the thing, cold showers never feel good. It's not the cold shower that feels good. It's the understanding that after you're done with the cold shower, you are going to feel better about yourself. You get an internal reward. You get the reward of knowing that you've developed some self-discipline. You get the reward of the serotonin, the internal, the happiness, the feeling of being a better person. You also get the internal reward of just being consistent about your own self-development, valuing yourself enough that you're willing to challenge yourself to do new and uncomfortable things. These all give you an internal reward before anything else happens. And then, because you're now rewiring your brain to be able to move forward through fear, you get external reward as well. Your life in front of you starts to change. Your opportunities, your friend circles, your ability to pursue opportunities that enter your world all change. So this is one very powerful way, and so bloody simple, because you take a shower every day anyway. Turn it on cold, take a deep breath, step in. Do it every morning. Maybe every night too, if you want. Don't have to be in there long. You'll find your showers probably get a lot shorter. That's totally fine. Choose to make it cold. And you'll see an interesting psychological battle happen in your head over such a simple thing, even though you absolutely know this is not going to harm you in any way at all. Another way that I like to practice this challenging my emotional comfort-seeking nature is NoFap. So NoFap is abstinence from porn and masturbation, and it is bloody hard because we are sexual creatures. I'm pretty sure I'm more sexual than anyone I know. Like, the horniness level feels through the roof. I know that's not true, but in my head it feels that way. And it is bloody difficult to choose to avoid comfort, very huge amounts of dopamine and happy chemicals, because I know that it does not help me get where I want to go in my life. So I feel that potential for comfort, I feel that desire for comfort, and then I exercise my right to choose. And in that situation, my right to choose is go take a cold shower, probably, or go for a run, or go to the gym, or go dancing, or go see a movie by myself. anything except staying in a high-risk situation where I'm going to eventually succumb to the pressure of that comfort-seeking part of my brain. I choose to avoid it. And this regular practice of putting yourself in situations where comfort is available and choosing to take a different path will grow your mind in ways that you will really have to see for yourself. Now, this is a very central piece here, because once you sort this out in your psychology, things like expressing attraction become easy. Things like going to a job interview and asking for double the salary you think you're worth becomes easy. Publishing a book feels easy. Writing that deep, vulnerable Facebook post where all your friends and family can see it, trivial. Okay, all these things that your emotional brain says, oh my God, no, don't do that, becomes just a radio signal that you can say, yeah, that's interesting, limbic system. Thanks for the heads up. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to choose what I know to be good for me rather than respond directly to that emotional pathway. Now, at first, this will feel very uncomfortable by definition, and that's good. Seek that discomfort. This is how I conquered stage fright. One performance at a time. 500 performances later, I love going on stage. Never would have seen that happening. You know, I absolutely started it out with the belief that I was going to die if I went on stage. Now, it's great fun. It's wonderful, actually. It's really fun. Every single part of your psychology can be reprogrammed in this way. So let's go a little deeper now into the second part of this discussion, which is how do you apply this into expressing attraction? So again, really the fundamental principle you want to remember here is just tear the plaster off, okay, or tear the Band-Aid off. You know it's going to be uncomfortable, but the faster and more directly you do it, the less you actually feel emotional suffering. That emotional suffering, that fear of what you're about to do, expressing attraction, is going to last as long as you sit there thinking about it. The moment you go and do it, no more suffering. It's already happened. That part of your brain goes, well, I'll just shut up now. It's not listening to me. So do that as quickly as you can. How can you express attraction? So there are two things that hold us back from expressing attraction most commonly in my experience. One is the fear of rejection, and the other is shame, the feeling that there's something wrong with expressing attraction. And we can go very deep into that one. But they're both handled in quite simple and direct ways. The fear of rejection, you conquer that simply by getting rejected a lot. Okay, there's actually a thing called Rejection Therapy where you just simply go and ask for ridiculous things. There's actually a TED Talk video well worth watching, 100 Days of Rejection, I think it's called. And it's a great video where the guy doing it basically realized that his fear of rejection was holding him back in his ability to run his own business. He couldn't do sales calls effectively if he walked into it in a panic. So he decided to challenge himself with 100 days of rejection. And he would just go do silly things. Go to ask crazy things at a storefront from the cashier, or he'd test all sorts of different ideas. And it was a great experience. That process of retraining your brain to not freeze, to choose to not freeze in the face of that fear, is the process that you're going through. It is simply let yourself feel the fear and do it anyway. Practice courage, very simply. Now, as you do that each time, it gets easier and easier and easier, and pretty soon it becomes fun. So now, one of my favorite things, I wish that you had known me in high school. I was one of the most socially anxious people you'd ever met. Literally couldn't talk to a girl that I was attracted to. Now, one of my favorite things to do is to stop a woman on the street and tell her I think she's gorgeous. Or sit down in a cafe, invite a girl over, start talking about coffee, invite her to go for a walk, anything. It's enormous fun. But it started with me saying, I'm scared shitless, and that's okay. I'm going to do it anyway. And I had to do that like clockwork, like going to the gym. It wasn't fun. Every day I'd make myself do it once a day. Look for that opportunity. And pretty soon, it didn't hurt anymore. And then pretty soon, it got fun. I had some interesting things happen. Now I look forward to it. This is the process that you'll find happen in your brain. If you've ever taken up something like running or gym, some kind of strenuous physical fitness, you probably started off with, oh my God, this is not enjoyable at all. And if you persisted with it, then you found a month later that if you skip a day, you miss it. You really feel down because like, oh, I didn't get to go to the gym today. It's exactly the same process. Understanding that psychology and bringing it under your control is where you want to start. So the fear of rejection is actually pretty easy to get past. What you'll find is that everything you imagine about fear of rejection is vastly overstated in your mind, over-imagined. Most likely, even if a girl absolutely has zero interest in you, the most likely answer you're going to get is, "Oh, thanks, but I just see us as friends." Now you'll feel that, and at first you'll go, "Oh my God, that was uncomfortable," and then you'll go, "Oh, that's okay. All right, I actually feel pretty good that I actually finally came out and said that." What you'll probably notice right away is you feel more free. And this is where shame comes in. So shame is this deep-seated belief that there is something about you that is true but is somehow wrong. Okay? And as nice guys, what we tend to do is we come up with this idea, I'm attracted to this girl, I want to tell her, and then we immediately think, oh, no, she won't like that. Feels aggressive, feels too assertive. What if she doesn't want me to express that to her? What if I embarrass her? And then we start having doubts and we start having an emotional reaction to that. All fine until we hit pause and either freeze or run away from that situation. And then we started building dendrites. Now we're making a choice which is not helpful to anyone, actually. Not her, not me, nobody. And as we repeat that, those dendrites are reinforced and we are more likely to choose that. We'll feel more internally pressured to choose that same path again and again and again. This is building shame. And the key process to reverse that, the key weapon against shame, is honesty. Okay, so honesty is simply revealing the shame. And you reverse the process step by step. So you can literally walk up to a girl that you've just met and said, hey, I actually feel a bit anxious saying this. I imagine that, it might make you uncomfortable. But I just wanted to tell you, you look fantastic in that dress today. Now, you've completely expressed what's on your mind. You simply took what's in your head, opened it up, and said, here you go. Have a look at this. What do you think? And you didn't ask anything from her. No response needed. You can keep walking down the street if you want. But this is exactly the process that you want to nurture as a habit, almost as a ritual that you will always do. The moment you have that thought, that feeling in your head, even though the shame is holding you back like an anchor, ditch the anchor, express it anyway. Okay? This practice you can do every day. Literally look for those opportunities. I used to practice. I had ditched my car and I used to ride the bus just so that I would be around people. And I could start new conversations. I could express attraction. I'd go for walks down the street for no other reason than to run into random strangers. I'd go to cafes just to talk to the barista. I'd go into the city all the time for a half day just to wander around town and put myself in situations where I could meet someone attractive and express that, or meet someone I find interesting and express that, or get bored and see someone and express, hey, I'm bored, you want to go do something? It's simply learning to take that uncomfortable feeling and choose to move through it. So I want you to create this as a regular pattern in your life. Think of it like gym. At the end of every day, as part of your regular journaling, you'll simply say, how did I confront myself today with some uncomfortable emotional situation, fear of rejection, whatever, and choose to move through it anyway. Now, I would say at the beginning, cold showers alone count. So make that a regular practice. No fat counts. But because you've got this particular attachment, this fear of rejection, this fear of expressing attraction, you want to include that as well in your regular practice. It became very, very important for me, both in overcoming my social anxiety and my fear of expressing attraction, but also in things like stage fright. I had to make it a regular thing in order to grow. Just like going to the gym has to be a regular thing in order for you to grow. Exact same process. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about this. One other thing in my notes I wanted to share is that if you are a Brojo Silver member or a Brojo Gold member, then you have access to the Brojo University. And in the Brojo University, there is a course put together by David Greer called Overcoming Shame. It uses a process that we really like at Brojo, referred to as the Shame Grid, where you get to basically document all of your shames and take them apart one by one. It's a very powerful process. The thing is, what we're talking about now, shame as an anchor, you can find it in the specific areas, but the way your brain works, it's in such a complex way, you can have 100 different feelings of shame around 100 different completely unrelated things, at least on the surface, the way your brain sees it. So you want to find all of those, and you want to work on all of them using honesty. It is a challenging process. It may take some time, and you'll basically, it's like peeling an onion. You'll take off layers and layers and layers. We start with the easy ones, and you start to get more and more bulletproof. If you are a silver or gold member, or if you want to become one, I highly recommend you do the course. It should be mandatory for everyone at Brojo to do. So that's a very powerful tool that you can use as well. Now, let's talk about expressing attraction in general. If you were completely shameless about expressing attraction, if there was nothing in your head holding you back, or if you felt that sense of shame but were courageous enough to always move forward and choose, it's fine, I'm going to express it anyway. Okay, you've learned to master your shame in a sense, and it will just wither and die when you stop feeding it. Pretty soon it won't even make a beep anymore, which is great. So if you were completely shameless and you saw a girl that you were really attracted to, fear of rejection probably wouldn't really factor in at all. Your brain might say, hey, she might not be into me. And then you look at that honestly and be like, so what? If I say nothing, absolutely nothing's going to happen. If I say something, there's a chance something could grow between us. So it becomes very clear moving forward is the right option. And in the absence of shame, that will happen somewhat naturally. You just tend to start rolling forward towards what you want because it's what you want, right? You're already motivated. So in that situation, you can probably imagine pretty quickly how you would be in that situation. My guess is you would be sexual in your expressions from the very beginning. That can be playful. It can be fun. It doesn't need to be crude or disrespectful. But from the very first time you meet this person, you'd simply say, wow, you look amazing. You'd start off with a compliment about how you find them attractive. So, wow, you're really, really attractive. I really like the way you've done your hair. Be as specific as you can. Be as honest as you can. Don't use lines. Don't make up stuff. Simply stop. Look at what's happening inside of you, how you feel, where you feel it, how she's affecting you. Turn that into words and share it to her. It's one of the most powerful gifts that you can give to people when it's actually done from the heart and when you're not expecting anything in return, not even validation. All right? So the trick to expressing attraction express it a lot. Make it a natural part of your first interaction. The moment you feel it, express it. Don't hold back. Holding back will build your shame up, and that's how you got to where you are now. That's how we all get stuck with that anchor of shame. So express it the moment you feel it. Doesn't have to be a massive, huge, grandiose expression. Just say, hey, you look really nice today. That's way better than keeping your mouth closed. So make it a part of your expression. Now, no doubt you're going to feel quite uncertain about this. The nice guy psychology has many, many layers and many, many, many years of development that you've been building and feeding this thing. And you can express that fear and uncertainty as part of the expression of attraction. For example, you could simply say, hey, there's some things I'd really like to tell you. They might be wildly inappropriate. Is it okay if I tell you and then you just tell me to stop if it gets too much? Is that okay? You can ask for permission. You can share your uncertainty with, I don't know if this is okay to say or not, but then go ahead and say it. And you can say it absolutely, directly, clearly. Hey, I just saw you walk by and I just thought you had the most incredible ass I have ever seen. I just had to tell you that. I hope that's not rude, You can absolutely say that. That is a great place to start. As you begin killing the nice guy, essentially, and tearing off the shame anchors, you'll become more and more assertive and more aware of what's going on in that interaction. So you can simply relax, be present about what's going on, and share it. That process will become more and more natural over time. But the first thing you want to do is get started putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation. You can even ask to practice with pure female friends who you've got no interest in at all. It will at least allow you to get used to the language that you want to use, get used to being present, get used to being active listening, observing what's going on with her, observing what's going on around the both of you in the situation, and sharing that and reflecting that back to her. That's the place to start. Now, tips regarding this particular girl that you are very interested in expressing attraction to. Now, this is a slightly different situation, and the only slight difference here is that you have withheld the truth of your attraction for quite some time. So this adds additional burden. Notice the problem with not being honest here is it just makes things harder on you for no reason. Not to mention the fact you may have missed out on a year of great relationship. Who knows, right? And certainly you've put yourself through a whole lot of torture unnecessarily, 100% unnecessarily. If you had expressed attraction when you first met her and she said, you're a great friend, but I don't see you sexually, you would have gone, I'm a little disappointed. All right, I'm over it. Let's be friends, or not, whatever you want to do. And you would not have had any of this anxiety at all. No sleepless nights, no sweaty palms, nothing. Why torture yourself? Why put yourself in this situation? So how do we undo this? Again, it is going to be all about honesty, all about taking and expressing that attraction. But you can absolutely include an awareness that, hey, I've actually felt this way for a while. I haven't really shared this. So I'm going to give you some examples of things I might say in a situation like this. I don't want you to use these in particular. I want you to use your own, but I'm going to use them as illustrations of ways to push yourself through that discomfort. So one way I might do it is I might literally just tear the plaster off. And by that I mean just as quickly as possible express very direct attraction without any pretense. So I'd literally be in the room with her, and if she really caught my eye, I would just say, you are so fucking hot. I would just say that, and then whoosh, it's out. I would just feel that rush of release that, wow, I've done it now. Now chances are she's going to be quite surprised, and where did that come from, and has something changed? And most likely she knows that you're attracted to her and she quite likes that, and that's why you're around her. That doesn't mean that she wants to have a relationship or that she wants to have sex, but she likes being appreciated. She gets a lot of validation out of that. Same as we do as men. So don't expect anything, but be aware that there is no reason for you to be afraid of this. She's not some Genghis Khan woman who's likely to chop your head off if you offend her. Okay, you're going to be fine here. And if you're not, the problem won't be about you expressing attraction. It'll be about some major emotional insecurity that she has that gives her a huge reaction, and you had nothing to do with that. Okay, and I'm lucky enough that has never happened to me, even in blind street approaches. So that's an almost impossible situation, almost. You could reflect the fact that you've felt this for quite some time. Something like, I might say, in case it's not obvious from how much I hang around you, you're one of the most beautiful women I know. Simply share that, hey, I like being around you. I'm around you a lot because, wow, I feel great around you. Including attraction in that statement. The fact that she's beautiful, the fact that you like being around her because you're attracted to her beauty is all part of it. Again, notice I'm not asking for her to make any decisions or for anything to happen. That comes later. For now, it's expressing the attraction, simply getting it out so that she knows where I am psychologically and emotionally, and she can come to terms with that. Later, we see where things might go from here. And this is the very important thing, is that as men, we tend to communicate psychologically. We tend to share the thoughts that we think are safe to share, and we rarely tend to express exactly how we feel. We tend to audit and monitor that and feel shame and uncertainty around our emotions. Don't. It's killing your relationships. Love your emotions and make them visible to the women in your life, and things will be much, much different for you. Much better. You could be very direct. Hey, I find you incredibly attractive. I often wonder what we would be like as a couple. You want to be as direct and accurate as you can about what's going on in your head. Be aware that some of these examples I'm giving, they're pretty powerful. They're the kind of thing that she's going to stop and go, holy shit, I don't know how to react to this. That's fine. Let her not know how to react to this. Don't backpedal. For God's sake, don't backpedal. Simply let it sit. No expectations, no responses. If she looks panicked or afraid, say, hey, I hope that didn't panic you. I just had to let you know. It's been killing me. Done. Okay? Anything that happens from here on out is up to her. But you've got to get that honesty bit out first. You could even be very, very playful. One that came to mind when I was thinking about this is, hey, you know what? I don't think I could ever date you because every time I'm around you, I just want to throw you down. Now, we've talked before in a coaching session, so I actually know a little bit about your attraction to this particular girl. And the reason I included this one is because it sounds like that's exactly how you feel. That every time you're around her, you're just holding in that sexual tension and thinking, man, I wish I was with this girl. If your relationship with this girl in specific sounds pretty tight, you're pretty close friends, there's a lot of trust between you, I personally think that in that situation, I would consider being that direct and playful. Again, there's no expectation here. I'm not asking for anything to happen. I'm not asking for her to change anything about her life or circumstances. But it's a very direct, open, honest expression of how I'm feeling. And that's the key thing. So, just to recap, very key thing that you want to do in all of your interactions with women, two things. First is letting yourself feel the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt. That FUD factor is fine. Realize that your choice is completely free and independent of those feelings, and make the choice that is right for you. Okay? The choice that is aligned with values. in this case, the choice that's most accurate and honest that you can possibly be is the one that will serve you best in the long run in your life. Okay? Doesn't guarantee any particular relationship is going to go forward, but it guarantees that people are going to respect you more, you're going to respect yourself more, you're going to connect with people far more deeply. People are going to trust you more. Women are going to be very interested in the fact that you are so emotionally open and vulnerable, because that's very rare for them to find, and it means that they get to understand what's going on with their man. That's incredibly sexy. All right? In this particular case, when you're with her, simply stop, breathe, look at what you're thinking and feeling in that moment, and turn it into words and share it with her. You can even preempt all of this by simply saying, hey, you know what? I've realized something. I hold back a lot on what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and I'd really like to be more honest. Can I start doing that with you? Okay? You can ask for her permission. And at any point, if this gets awkward and uncomfortable, you can ask me to tone it down or stop, whatever. You can always ask permission, and I would say that that's a very respectful thing to do. Most importantly, get started in this process. Get started in this process with new people you meet. You can even practice this on Tinder with texting if you want, if you're feeling really anxious about face-to-face interactions. That's how I did it, because I was really socially anxious about expressing attraction. You will, the more you practice this, the faster it will become fun. And if you were to practice this hard out, I would say in 3 months' time to 4 months' time, if you practice every day, 3 to 4 months, you're going to look back and go, what the heck was I afraid of? I have no idea. This is the best thing ever. So I encourage you to do it. Have fun. Let us know how it goes. Talk to you soon, man.